Welcome to Undo, the podcast where we rethink work, rest, and play. I'm Dulcie.
And I'm Yemisi. Hi.
And we are here to have the conversations that don't happen enough about ambition, identity, rest, joy, and doing life on your terms. So if you are done shrinking, settling, or running on fumes, you're in the right place. All right, so we're going to talk about one of my favourite subjects today. And it's something we don't talk about enough. It's leaving. I want to talk about more than how to leave a job. I want to talk about why we leave a job, when we leave a job, what it means to us to leave a job. I want to talk about how we are often taught to, push on, push through, be loyal, endure, cling. But as most of us will know, staying too long in the wrong place can be very costly. It can cost you your energy, your confidence, your joy.
Sometimes your health.
Listen. As you said that, the cells in my body started activating. I felt that at the mitochondrial level. Powerhouse of the cells. So this episode, we're going to talk about what it means to leave well, leave with clarity, leave with self-respect, and to have your next chapter in mind in a positive way. All right. Let's do this. So, quitting. So here's a weird thing. I love to quit. I hate to leave.
Right. I see. Yes. Yeah, I understand that completely. But before the moment when you're saying, I'm gone. But the process that comes after, it's like,
bloody
just
mess.
Rip the Band-Aid off. Not all this.
So I think when it comes to quitting and leaving, we're often told that, especially if you've not been in a workplace very long, it can be seen as you're flaky or there's some sort of failure attached to it or something. But yeah, we're praised for loyalty to our companies, even if it's not.
Praise doesn't keep us warm at night.
Praise
doesn't pay any bills.
Praise is not going to pay for lunch at Moon in Paris. And that is what I'm here for, okay? I want to make money so I can go and have a black cod on the Champs-Elysees. Blackened cod.
Lobster risotto.
Yes. And that lovely mocktail. That pineapple mocktail. And the aubergine.
And go use ostentatious hand wash.
Officine de Bully hand wash.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hand wash. Exactly.
So that's the thing. Loyalty doesn't pay for lunch at Moon.
Was there a view? We could see the Eiffel Tower from the. Could we? From that one?
No,
it was the other one.
Balcony. We could see the Arc de Triomphe.
Oh, that's the one.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
So yeah. Sorry, just a quick side note there into our holiday plans. But we are praised for loyalty to our companies, and I don't think it takes a psychic to tell you that neither Yemi or I believe in that. Don't be silly. But current prevalent work culture annoyingly glamorizes resilience. Derogatory. I don't mean that complimentarily.
Yeah, I agree.
But it glamorizes that rather than self-honesty or protecting oneself. And there's somehow a shame attached to wanting something different. I want to talk about our experiences of leaving, quitting, etc. Have you ever felt like you stayed somewhere for too long? And what do you think maybe kept you there for too long? Or what stories have you told yourself about quitting? What's your relationship with it and how might that have changed over time?
Yeah, so where the one place that stands out is it wasn't a specific place. It was a specific time in my career when I was teaching. I stayed too long. And I stayed too long because of the kids. Yeah. And I think this is why I have a lot of empathy for teachers and very little patience for when government starts saying all these things like thank our teacher day, and I'm like, teachers don't need thanks. They need to be paid fairly.
Pretty simple.
They need to be paid fairly and be treated like the experts that they are.
Yeah.
And okay, just breathe.
Okay.
Breathe.
You don't want to trigger.
But yeah, I stayed too long, and I basically had a nervous breakdown. That was it. It was a health thing. It became a health issue for me because I didn't leave when I was supposed to leave.
Yeah.
I thought about the kids, who's gonna help,
Yeah.
that relationship. And I think a lot of schools take advantage of those emotional ties that teachers have to their students. And I mean, look at the head teacher that her school got a requires improvement rating. They failed Ofsted essentially, and she took her own life. Like these are like, teaching is a different level of emotional investment. It's not, teaching is never just a job. It's like healthcare. It's like the NH. It's never just around. I think that's the danger
really
of
high.
it as well.
Yeah.
Exactly. The stakes are very high. And because it's little people involved, children, it's even higher.
Yeah.
And so we have a lot of sick teachers. Like, I'm sick, I mean ill. Yeah. I mean, physically, mentally. I mean, I had to, I have no problem with sharing this. I had to be referred for therapy because a complete breakdown. And so the lesson I learned from that was there's no amount of guilt I can feel, or there's no job that is noble enough that requires me to sacrifice my health. And that was a very hard lesson for me to learn. It's like, your health has to be off the table completely.
Yeah. Big time.
So, and I almost fell into that trap again. Years later.
It's muscle memory, yeah. Yeah.
I had to have a very, very painful reminder not too long ago that, remember that lesson? And so for me, I think depending on the industry you're in, quitting can be kind of a huge deal. And I had to pivot into an industry where I felt like I was able to create that distance between my emotional self and the job I was being hired to do. It's tough in certain industries, I have to say. But the lesson is nothing is worth your health and well-being. Nothing.
Absolutely. I could not agree more. Like I said, I like quitting. And I hate leaving.
Yeah.
So I think why I say I like quitting is because I've too many times have stayed too long.
Yeah.
And so the moment of quitting is sheer ecstasy.
Cathartic. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just like, oh my God.
It's like a pressure valve has been released. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just relief.
It's a thing that's probably come a little bit too late.
Yeah.
But is still just comes with huge relief. And, I'm hard-headed, so I struggle to learn the lesson. It's tough for me. But I think I have historically had a very, very big problem with overcommitting, overworking.
Yeah.
I am that person who was too, I don't even have to say it, I was too loyal. It's not always necessarily to the business, but I was very much like, this is my job, I'm going to do it excellently. No room for failure, no room for weakness, no room for even a little bit of slippage. We're going to nail this all day, every day. Like rain, sun, shine. Like I'm here. I'm on my grind. And this is a me thing.
Yeah, I get it.
It's a thing that I've gone through different things of being like, yeah, that's just who I am. It's fine. I get the job done. To then hating it about myself because I've been in situations where it has not been reciprocated, where I've actually been made to feel a fool or been taken advantage of, even financially in jobs, which led me to starting me down the road of my own burnout and breakdown, and have then hated myself for that and felt foolish for it. And it was actually when I built Workwell, and that same energy came into Workwell, and suddenly I wasn't foolish anymore for being a complete workhorse. When I then applied all of that energy and capacity to just get things done to work well, I suddenly was like, oh no, this quality you have isn't bad.
No,
because now you're doing it for yourself such that no one can take advantage of it.
Exactly. It was the environment that was wrong, not you.
Not me. And then it was, what I did wrong was the application. And that's what I've learned from having time doing my own thing, was knowing when to apply and to what extent to apply my gifts and who gets to receive them. And it's having that discernment of not everybody gets to chop, okay? Not everybody gets to chop this. Get me?
My goodies. My goodies.
My goodies. Not my goodies. Look, Sierra always knows. She's always got it.
See, yeah, she's always known.
She
That's why she upgraded.
She sure did.
When have you left something and it felt like liberation?
Every time. Every damn job.
Okay, is there a particular quitting, a heavily redacted quitting story that you can tell us?
Okay. Yes.
Okay, let's go for it.
So, and you know this one.
I have the feeling I want to hear it again. I always love hearing this one.
So I was working at this place. I was a manager at the time, and you said heavily redacted. Okay.
Yes, heavily redacted.
I was working somewhere.
Yes.
As a manager, and it was a job in which I was really like I said, overcommitted, doing too much, working all hours, just boom, 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 boom. And I suppose I need to give a bit of context. So it was within the advertising media space.
Okay, yeah.
And it was about like placing ads and stuff like that. And so we, you know, I was a planner, sort of more strategy side of things. Yeah. And our head of digital had a session with all of the planners one afternoon, and she was just talking to us about, you know, the rigor that we need to put behind things when we're thinking about putting ads online as opposed to cinema, press, TV or whatever, right?
Yeah, makes sense.
And so it was a real kind of like 101 type thing. And she was like, the first thing you do when you get a brief from a client and you've understood what they're looking for, go and check their website, you know, just get to grips with what's on the website, what information they have, where you would be directing your ads to, et cetera, et cetera. And it's like, well, of course, right? It feels a bit obvious. Like, and it was fine because she was just trying to do a 101 and she was a very detail-oriented person. My director, the person who headed up the entire planning team, turned to us and said, I just want to stop there because that's a really great point. I mean, let's be honest. How many of us have actually looked at our clients' websites before we started doing the work? Right? She said that with no irony. And I listen, let me just say, when I entered that meeting room, I had no intention of quitting my job. I'll be so honest with you. It wasn't even in my head. I had no intention. But she made that comment, and it was my body. I can remember it now with absolute clarity. My body started moving. I started packing up my pens and my notebook and my cup of tea, and I said, I'm just going to go to the toilet. And nobody questioned why I would take all of my things to go to the toilet, but so I did. I didn't go to the toilet. I just walked straight down to our office. I went to my computer. I Googled resignation letter template, wrote it up, sat there, read it through. I was like, yeah, that's not bad. Printed it off, stood at the printer, waited, put my pass, you know, let's find a job. Yeah. It wasn't there yet. I was like, let me try and reprint. I had to go back to my laptop, go back, print again. Oh, here it is. There we go. Went to the stationery cupboard. The meeting's still going on, mind you, upstairs, but I'm just busy down there doing what I need to do, doing the needful, as they say. Went to the stationery cupboard. I was rooting through things, trying to find like an envelope. Yeah. I was like, I can't find an envelope. I was like, well, I don't want to put it in an A4 envelope. That's a bit much. Eventually, I found an envelope. The MD came in while I was in there. He's like, oh, what are you doing? I was like, oh, just looking for an envelope. He's like, okay, no problem. See you later. I was like, see you later. Carried on. Went back to my desk, folded my letter quite carefully. I hate when letters aren't folded properly. The tri-fold, you know, you need to get it right.
Have to, yes, and the edges have to match up.
They got to match up. So I did that, folded it, put it in into the envelope. Luckily for me, it wasn't a modern envelope. I had to lick it, and boy, did I lick that thing. I licked that envelope. Savoured that gummy taste and sealed the envelope, put it to one side and then carried on, went back to my work. Didn't go back to the meeting. There was no point. Maybe they thought I had violent diarrhea. Who knows what they thought was happening. Eventually, the team came back in. Everybody, you know, filters back into the room. I'm sat there like, hey, guys. Nobody questions anything. Hi. No questions asked. Once everybody had settled down and sat down and, just the normal hum of work, I went to my director. I said, have you got a minute? She's like, yeah, sure. I said, let's go to the kitchen area. I sat down, had my notebook in me. Not in me, sorry, had my notebook on me. And tucked away between the pages of that notebook was my letter. Couldn't see it. It wasn't peeping through, so it's a total surprise. I grew up watching Beadles About, so I was ready to shock somebody. And sat down. I said, it's just something I need to talk to you about. I think it's time that I move on. And I pulled out my letter. Priceless. She had not seen that shit coming. She was like, oh. And I was like, yeah, I've got to go. And she's like, oh, have you found another job? I was like, no, I haven't. But it's time for me to move on. She was like, is there anything we can? I was like, no, nothing can be done at this point. And that was it.
I feel like there are some lines that cannot be crossed with you in the workplace.
Yeah.
And it's not even about things like that HR will be involved in. Just very, very straight up common sense lines.
Don't be so stupid.
That cannot be crossed.
And I did not know that was a line for me until then.
Until it happened.
I didn't know.
Yeah.
I didn't know that felt like a violation. Like I have suffered prejudice and microaggressions at that same workplace.
And that was fine.
They were dealt with, and I moved on. But who knew that the straw that would break my back was just being too stupid? It was the fact that it was the director of the team, the person I reported into, the one steering the ship. I said, no, because this is a wreck. I'm not going down with this ship. If you're
not Dido.
This is like, exactly. I'm not Dido.
You're Dulcie, not Dido.
I'm Dulcie, not Dido. Okay? So, it was, for me, it was like, okay, so if the captain can't read a map, why am I following her?
Yeah.
I had been feeling for a while like there wasn't enough stretch. I wasn't growing enough. There wasn't enough challenge in it for me. But when the boss said something so incredibly foolish, I said, I'm never going to get the challenge I need.
Yeah, so that thing, there's no point in holding out for something that's never going to come. Yeah.
It just made it so crystal clear.
I think that's a larger issue, isn't it? It's like the thing that you were holding out for, that you endured all that other BS for, was now never gonna come. So it wasn't even worth it to you.
So I think it's fair to say that we know the old story of staying for too long and not quitting and pushing through. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. When we stay too long, when we've outgrown something but we don't go, we create resentment and burnout and breakdown. And I don't want to sound too cynical when I say this, but I really mean it when I say that loyalty to these businesses is not returned. Okay? It can't be, honestly, when you're in a company of a certain size at least. You are a number on a page, but that doesn't have to be a bad thing. Play your position. Being overly loyal to a business doesn't often give you a return on that investment in reality. You've got to really know when to give and when to withhold. Now, I don't mean that you just, rock up and do the absolute bare minimum and screw your face up. And no, I'm not talking about that. Come on. Do your job, do it well, but just don't go too far over and above. There might be points when you're like, no, I'm going over and above because I'm trying to secure this promotion. Cool. You know why you're doing what you're doing. It's when we fall into the trap of giving and giving and giving, and we don't even know why we're doing so much, and our bodies are breaking and our relationships are suffering, and we're not feeling in touch with our own joy anymore. That's when it's safe to say that loyalty, it isn't returned. It can't be returned.
And I think it's also irresponsible as well. Like, remember when we had that episode with Phil, like, a business is not a person. Like, we've personified the business.
Yeah.
A business can never love you back. Right? Yes. And so, like, it's irresponsible of you to attribute human feelings to something that it's not human.
It can't do that.
Right? It's a business. Right. The sole purpose of a business is to keep going.
Yes.
Otherwise, it ceases to be, right?
And the way it keeps going is by using resources, and you are one of those resources.
And you are one of them. And so you have a responsibility to yourself to make sure that you are in the best possible shape, not just for that business, but for any other thing that you choose to do with your life. Exactly. And so you conceding that responsibility to the business, or is irresponsible of you. Yeah. You need to take responsibility for your own health and well-being in the first instance.
I love that.
So yeah, that's my own personal.
No, I love that. That's real talk with Yemisi, okay? Trademark. Because sometimes we do need to be firm with ourselves, right?
Let's be real with ourselves,
let's
guys.
Be so real. What do you want?
No, it's true.
It's not going to cuddle you, girl.
That's a mistake I've made too many times.
Me too.
To be honest with you, yeah.
Me too. And you expect everything. It's like the business is like I'm not sentient.
Computer says no.
Computer says no. Fuck. You're just there
what do you expect from me?
What do you expect from me?
That was a really kind of eye-opening moment with Phil last season.
Yes.
The collective gasp as well. Me and you were
oh my God. Flashbacks of all the times that I was complaining, and it's about what, girl?
Exactly.
It's a business.
Yeah, the call is coming from inside the house. It's you.
Yes. Another thing I think that keeps people stuck is a fear of the unknown.
Yeah.
And, when there was always going to come a point when you have come to the end of the role, not because of overworking or mistreatment. You could be in a really great job that you enjoy with a team that you are very happy to be part of, but there comes a point when there's no more challenge, there's no more stretch, and you still desire those things. You are no longer content with the task, and it is now time naturally to move forward, but not knowing, do I want to do this but more of it? Do I want to do something completely different? What am I capable of? Can I, all that fear can keep us, we instead of trying to tackle it head on and answer those big questions, we can sometimes say defer it and stay with the comfort of what we know, but then over time see ourselves becoming more despondent and shrinking, and that in itself can lead to burnout. We talked about it in season 1 with the burnout, that misalignment and not having enough work. There are different types of burnout, and there is a burnout to be had when you've just not got enough challenge anymore, and where you want more challenge and you don't have it. But if anything, please remember that quitting, and I'm so damn serious about this, it is not the same as giving up. Quitting is just a way for you to choose what is better for you, what's more aligned with you. So it's time for some research and insight.
Yeah, let's go.
So in 2022, McKinsey did a study. It's called the Great Attrition to Great Attraction Report. And in it, they found that employees who quit were most likely to say they did so because they didn't feel valued by their organization or their manager, and they didn't feel a strong sense of belonging. And 40% of them didn't even have another job lined up.
40%.
40. I was quite surprised by how high. I mean, again, I say it having been one of those people, but I was surprised by how high that number was.
So what? Okay.
People are desperate to get out.
Okay, so when people some people try and guilt you for not having something else lined up. Are you telling me that almost everybody else is doing it?
It's about nearly half.
Nearly half of okay. That makes you feel so much better.
2/5 of people are in the same boat. So if you're leaving a job and you're that, I think that advice is always don't leave if you haven't got something else. Yeah, that is good advice, but sometimes you might have to leave, even if you don't have something else. Sometimes you have to leave to get back to yourself, and then you can figure out what your next thing is.
Sometimes you have to leave to avoid going to prison. Because of what you're going to do to those people.
Exactly. And sometimes you can't choose what's better for you when you're still in the environment that is destroying you.
Absolutely.
Okay, so don't beat yourself up if you need to leave without something else to go to.
You're not special. You're part of the 40%.
You're part of the 40%. So. And, I think there is stuff to be said about where possible, where your health is not at immediate risk, trying to stay long enough to build a runway so that you have some financial coverage while you are, on a break. Because if you go and there is nothing, no savings, no plan financially, that level of stress can then turn into a whole different set of
that's
problems.
a whole different, yes.
So if you're able to build your runway, I've heard people call it like a fuck it fund, right? So if you get to the day that you're like, fuck it, you've got some money there that will cover you, which I really quite love. But I mean, I suppose what that study is telling us then is that people are leaving bad management, etc. We all know that, but they're also looking for something else. They're looking for purpose. They're looking for respect. They're looking for alignment. And sometimes leaving is the most strategic move that you can make.
Yes.
Okay. So remember, it's not about giving up. It's not failure. It's strategy. It's a deliberate choice you're making in order to improve matters one way or another. You know what's up next?
What's up next?
It sounded like I was going to tell a joke, didn't it?
Yes.
I'm not. What's next is living proof.
Living proof. Yeah.
So this is one of my favourites, and I really love this woman a lot. So our living proof this week is Jacinda Ardern.
I've heard of her.
Oh my God. Okay. So
tell me.
Jacinda Ardern was the Prime Minister of New Zealand.
I know her.
Yes, I was going to say, I was like, I'm sure you do know her. But
I know her. Yes.
So when Jacinda Ardern became the Prime Minister of New Zealand, she didn't just break records, she broke molds. And she was famous for leading with empathy, emotional intelligence, and a deep commitment to well-being, not just economic growth. From her compassionate response to the Christchurch attacks to being the second elected world leader to give birth while in office, she built a global reputation for a different kind of leadership, one that didn't sacrifice kindness for strength. So when she resigned in 2023, which I found it quite surprising, actually, I was quite shocked. Because more times when politicians resign, I'm like, good riddance. But this one, I was like, oh no. It wasn't under any scandal or any pressure. It was just such an honest resignation. And this is what she said. I know what this job takes, and I know that I no longer have enough in the tank to do it justice. It's time. Yeah. So in a world that, as we've already said, often glorifies just pushing through at all costs, she didn't do that. She chose
and
alignment.
She didn't matter herself either. She didn't get a savior complex and say, oh, what would the country do without me? And this is great.
She chose alignment over ego. She left with dignity, and she left on her own terms. And that is a really powerful reminder that how you leave matters. A good ending can honour what was, and it makes space for what's next. Now, she has just released a book. She's just on a tour as well. I tried to get tickets to see her in London, but they were sold out. I've forgotten the name. Sorry, guys. I should have tried to remember that one. But I'm definitely going to dig into that over summer. It looks like a really great read. I've been keeping up with her promo trail and listening to her interview and trying to not, because she talks a lot about the book, and I'm like, I can't wait to read it.
Is it A Different Kind of Power?
That's the one, A Different Kind of Power. So yeah, she's a great example of leaving and knowing yourself well enough to know when it's time to go, right? Leaving a business, even when you've had a great time and it's been a great and I say business, we're talking about leaving. It doesn't have to be a business. This could be a relationship. It could be anything, honestly. It's the same ideas behind it all. Leaving does not make you ungrateful. Knowing when it's time for you to leave is an honest move. It can be very brave, right? So yeah, just remember that there's nothing wrong about leaving. It's like the way we've talked about the words that have been made to sound bad, like selfish. It's like there's nothing intrinsically wrong with caring for yourself or looking after yourself, and yet it's a derogatory term. Leaving is an inevitable thing because we all leave this planet eventually, but when we talk about leaving the context of work or relationships and stuff, it's seen as a bad thing. Why is it? It doesn't have to be bad. We can leave well, Let's take a quick pause. If you're thinking about leaving your job, whether it's for a new role, a bold pivot, or just a well-earned break, Leave with Purpose was made for you. It's a guided workbook to help you figure out what's next and leave in a way that protects your peace, your reputation, and your well-being. You'll get clarity on your decision, tools to shape your next chapter, and guidance for how to resign and say goodbye without burning out or burning bridges. And because you're here with us on Undo, you can get an additional 10% off with the code LEAVE10. Just head to thisisworkworld.com/leave or tap the link in the show notes. All right, back to the episode. If you're feeling like it might be time for a change, here is your undo. Unlearn that quitting means failure. Okay? Just let it go. Let that thought go. Unlearn that you owe it to others to stay, even if it's hurting you.
Been that.
Been it. Big time. Unlearn that there's only one right path and that leaving that path is reckless. It ain't. You can do what you can. Literally, you're an adult. If no one's told you this before, I'm going to tell you right now. You can do whatever you want. Okay? Like, you have free will. You can actually do whatever you want.
Here's your permission slip to do
whatever you want
in your best interests.
Yeah. Now, don't go and start doing killing spree and say, Dulcie told me to do whatever I want.
I love how you went straight to killing spree, Dulcie. I find that very fascinating.
Yeah, because I can... Listen, one thing I maintained from my master's degree was the course on law.
Okay, yeah.
And protecting oneself from a legal perspective. And I don't want anybody out there to go and start committing heinous crimes. And when arrested, start talking about what Dulcie said. Dulcie didn't say anything. Dulcie doesn't know you and you don't know her. Okay? Dulcie didn't
Exhibit A, this episode of the podcast, yeah.
Caveat. Mm-hmm. I didn't tell you to go and hurt anybody now. I'm just saying, as an adult, you have free will and you can exercise it.
Yes.
All right? Now, if you want to reflect on those unlearning points, you can ask yourself a few things. Am I staying because I want to? Am I staying because I'm afraid to go? What would it look like for me to leave well?
Yeah.
Who am I trying to prove something
to? Both in the environment and well in of yourself.
Yes.
For you to leave while still feeling well.
Exactly.
And not waiting till you break down.
Exactly. And who am I trying to prove something to?
Therapy is so going to be useful for that question.
0800 therapist. Call them up. Okay? So yeah, loyalty. I feel like I've been dogging loyalty today. I will say loyalty is a beautiful thing, but not when it costs you your peace. All right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, use some discernment on that front, people.
Some discernment is so useful here.
And so now we want to do something new. I want you to start thinking about leaving as a powerful and proactive act. Okay? If you're in that place where you are toying with the thought of leaving and it's something you want to just explore a little bit, safely with yourself, you can write a letter that you're not going to send. What would you say if you were leaving today? Like, who would you say it to? What would you say if you were going to go right now? And it could be more than work. Like I said, it could be a relationship. It could be anything.
It could be anything, yeah.
It could be anything.
Anything that is no longer serving you.
Exactly. What would you say if it was time to go? You can always, we've talked about therapy. It's a given at this point. This is a great thing to talk about with your therapist. There's a lot of stuff within quitting and leaving which can be very deep rooted that they can help you unpack and understand. But yeah, talk to somebody that you trust about what might be really keeping you stuck, whether that's a therapist or close and trusted friend or mentor. It's good to talk about these kinds of things, and sometimes having that another point of view or some distance from the issue at hand can help you see things a bit more clearly. So if there is somebody whose opinion and views you trust and that is a safe space for you, it's well worth talking this kind of thing out. And then map out what leaving well could look like. So yes, if you're in a place where you're thinking about leaving well, right, practically, what would it look like? Emotionally, what would it look like? Physically, what would it look like? Financially, what would it look like? And then start to picture yourself doing it, right? If you have got some nervousness or anxiety, start to think about and start to live it in your body, because when you do spend that time really visualizing on it, it starts to become more real within your own body, which makes it easier to do.
That is so true, Dulcie. In fact, I read a book called The Power of Your Subconscious Mind. And that is a really powerful tool for helping you overcome your fear around leaving. When you picture yourself doing it over and over and over again, your subconscious then gets used to that idea, and then it overcomes the fear of it.
Yeah.
So that's a really powerful tool to use.
Yeah, absolutely. And just remember, you don't have to burn everything down. Bridges don't have to be burned. Sometimes you can just walk over them and go. Right?
For scorched earth policies in every situation.
It's sometimes quite fun. But you don't have to do it. You don't have to burn it all down. You know, there is stuff to think about. You don't know when your paths will cross with people again. So even if you have had a particularly unpleasant situation, you know, if it's not something that has maybe been escalated with HR or whatever, but it's not something you want to pursue in that way, it's still worth leaving on decent enough neutral terms because life is funny, you know, and you don't want to undermine yourself by leaving with a cloud hanging over you.
And but it doesn't mean want regrets as well.
You don't want to regret
if you know that this is something that you may regret further down the line, yes, you're doing it for your own future self as well.
Yeah, exactly. So books. Let's talk about books. If you want to go deeper, if you want more support about transitions and moving on, here are some good books that you could read. One of them is called Transitions. Now, ignore the front cover. It looks really like... I'm an aesthetics girly, and that front cover is just like ill. But it's actually a really good book. Don't judge this book by its cover. That's such a dad joke. Oh my God. But don't judge it by its cover. It's a really good book. It's called Transitions by William Bridges, and it's a really good guide to navigating endings, uncertainty, and new beginnings. And the next one with a much better cover is Quit by Annie Duke. Right on the nose, which I quite like. Get to the point. Reminds me of Play by Stuart Brown. So Quit by Annie Duke, it makes quite a smart science-based case for why strategic quitting is a success skill. It's a good book, worth a read. And then the last one is Untamed by Glennon Doyle. She's a really good writer, and she has some really nice reflections. It's not strictly about quitting or whatever, but it's more about choosing a life that works for you. And she's had some very, really big changes in her life and walked away from things and walked away from traditional ways of living into the non-traditional, and we've done it with some absolute bravery and honesty and courage, and she really talks about that in Untamed. So that's just a very inspiring case for living your life, doing what you need to do. So yeah, you'll find all of those and more in the library on the Workwell website, and the links are also in the show notes. So let's wrap this up.
Yes, let's do it.
If this episode gave you a nudge to reconsider where you are, you're not alone. And if someone in your life is on the edge of a decision, please do share this with them.
And if you've got a few seconds, a 5-star rating or a quick review really helps us reach more people.
We're doing short minisodes this season where we unpack real dilemmas from listeners. So if there's something that you are wrestling with, send an email to dilemma@thisisworkwell.com. And don't worry, we always make sure that you stay anonymous.
Want to keep up with us online? You'll find all the links in the show notes.
Next time on the series finale, we're going to be talking about visibility. Visibility. You've got to be more visible. We're going to talk about...
like femininity.
You can see how we feel about it from all the impressions we're doing, everyone that's told us to be visible in our lives. But we're going to talk about it and what it really takes to show up, even when it feels scary. So don't miss it. Don't be so afraid that you don't turn up for the episode, okay?
Turn up. Be visible for the episode.
Be visible. I can see it on the listener numbers. Be visible. Show up. Okay? See you then. Bye.
Bye.